people and resources are grouped in a two-way simultaneously by function and by product or project. It is also referred as multiple command system, where we see here we also see how a single employee will receive orders and direction from more than one bosses. Then when we came to matrix organization, and matrix organization, there in a matrix organization there are departments on the basis of function like finance, marketing, and engineering. Department also on the basis of product like managers of product one, two, three, and so on. With the help of PPT, ma'am explained us. We got to know. Ma'am explained us uh, that the departments are two flow of responsibility at each level. That is the vertical flow of responsibility. That is, employee have to report to the finance as finance, marketing, or to the engineering manager. And the horizontal flow of responsibility, that is, the employee have to report to the product managers of the different products. The advantage of matrix organization is that first the first most advantage of matrix organization is that the two departments are able to communicate with each other. So the finance department is also able to take care of the issues of the marketing as well as of the engineering department. Second, there is less sub-unit orientation in matrix organization, as the person is not only oriented to its own unit but also take care of the other aspects as well. The third advantage is that the people is concerned about the cost and quality of the product. At the same time, the employee is communicating with the product manager as well as the finance manager. At the same time, as a product manager may ask to improve the quality of the product, at the same time the employee can take care the cost issue too. The fourth advantage is this: quick transfer of valuable employees. And the fifth is allow people to learn more about the function. The disadvantages of matrix organization is that not everyone adapts well to a matrix structure. Lack of hierarchy and standardization, conflict between functional and product managers, hard to design and manage relationship. Then we came up to structure follows strategy. When an organization is working under pressure and working under the environmental changes, they always revise strategy. Strategy are revised and new strategies are formed, but it is not possible to carry out the same strategy with the organization, with the structure of an organization they are following since very long. When a strategy is revised according to the changes needed, change, change the structure of an organization so as to achieve the required goal. This is why we say structure follows strategy. There are two types of structure: long structure and flat structure. Tall structure and flat structure. Tall structure implies a small span of control, facilitate close supervision, close interaction between supervisors and subordinates. Flat structure, it is quick, relatively communicated up and down the line. However, there may be difficulty in developing team spirit because of large size. Then ma'am shows. Then ma'am shared a video with us of Steve Jobs. The Steve Jobs points in the video was that Apple follows flat structure. He didn't follow the hierarchy, and he also never keeps an eye on people working all the time, which is basically in the case of hierarchy. Steve Jobs meet for 3 hours every week with all the in charge of all the departments. On every third day, Apple supervisors don't keep a watch on to the employees. Apple is a organized startup as well. Steve Jobs said, one people is in charge of iPhone OS, one people is in charge of Mac OS, one people is in charge of iPhone hardware, and so on. Then we came up to powers and authority. Structures is incomplete without powers and authorities. Structure would not work if it does not have powers and authority. Powers is the ability to influence on the other people, whereas legalized powers are authority. People having authority will always have the power, but people having power may not have the authority all the time. Then Sir commented us with his experience from the IIM Ahmedabad from 1991 to 1992. As Sir says, IIM Ahmedabad follows matrix structure. Here groups are called as areas, like strategy area, accounting area, marketing area as well. There are all the areas have chairpersons, and as well as the department also all the areas have chairpersons, and the department also have chairpersons. Department like MBA and research, they are regular, and at times when needed, IIM Ahmedabad introduced new department like consensus. Thank you, ma'am. That's from all my side.
Thank you, Shafi. Shagun, can you present your recap, please?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shagun Agarwal, and today I'm going to present the recap of our previous session. In the previous session, we learned about the matrix structure and organization. The matrix structure is an organizational structure in which there is more than one line of responsibility managers. It means that the employees of the organization reports to more than one manager. We also learned that in the matrix structure, the resources and products are divided into two groups. That is on the basis of functions and on the basis of products. A function related to like the marketing, HR, finance, etc. Whereas product is related to the product A, B, and C. It means that an employee of the organization should have to report to both the managers of the function department or the product department. That's why this is also known as two-boss system, in which one boss is related to the functional department and other is related to the product department. There are both advantage and disadvantage of this structure. Following are the advantages of matrix structure. The employees in this structure learns new skills because they work closely with different departments, and there is also communication between the departments, which brings improvement in their working efficiency, and different departments work with each other, improving the compatibility of work, and hardworking employees are valued by both types of department, which may lead in their promotion. These are some of the advantages of the matrix structure. Following are the disadvantages. There are some cases in which there can be a change of opinion between the functional department and the product department, which can lead to a standstill. And also because the decisions are to be allowed by both the department, decision making is a slow process. And because of the so many departments, there is hard to design and this is hard to design and improve relationships. Next, we learned about the structure follows strategy. It means that an organization, when chooses its structure, it is to be dependent on its strategy. Not every structure can be allowed in every organization, and structure should be dependent on its future objectives, aims, or its goals. There are two types of structure: flat structure or tall structure or flat structure. Tall structure or vertical structure tall structure is also known as vertical structure, in which CEO or president is at the head of the chain of command, followed by the management or different managers underneath. In this, there is a defined hierarchy, and there is less autonomy for the different employees. And next is the flat structure or horizontal structure, in which there is a few levels of management, but they were closely related to. There is more autonomy in this type of structure. Ma'am present as an example of this type of structure by showing us a video of Steve Jobs, in which he explains that in the Apple, different employees have different responsibility. One has the responsibility for iPhone hardware, other for iPhone software, some for one for Mac hardware, and other for Mac software. They all group together in a week at least for 3 hours, and correlates each other with the experience of all their work. They trust each other. They trust each other to complete their responsibility. This is how their flat structure works. The next topic we learn about power and authority. Power is nothing but ability to influence others, whereas authority is the power. Authority is same as power, but in a legalized manner. We can clearly understand this topic by taking an example of a person with a gun and a policeman with a gun. Both have the power, both have a gun, but policeman is legalized by the government. So it can be said that he has authority, whereas a civilian with a gun has power but no authority. This is the difference between power and authority. In the end, sir provided us with his experience in IIM Ahmedabad the example of matrix structure, in which there are various departments related to marketing, HRM, where they are heads of the faculties. The chairperson also selects the faculties to teach students from these departments, and then a member of the group, when he meets with the chairperson of the group, he plays the role of a member of the group and also plays the role of a student if the chairperson also teaches a student. So this is an example of matrix organization. This is all from my side. Thank you.
Zareen ma'am, would you like to comment on the presentations?
Okay, sir.
Then I will add a few points.
Ji, sir. Shafi and Shagun, you presented a good recap. Shafi,
Yes, ma'am.
you have a good command over language, and I see that you did not write the points, you were remembering them. Is that so?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in that aspect, when you were remembering, you were good because you were able to remember the points. But you can also jot down the points, and somehow, of course, there was a lack of eye contact. We didn't see you seeing towards the screen. So if you could have made the eye contact, it could have been better. And also, I thought that at some points you went in too much detail, because when we have short time, we need to see that on on which point we need to focus more, and on which point we need to focus less. So maybe, for example, the Steve Jobs video that you explained, I think you took a little longer to explain that video. So you have to divide your time such that you finish maybe 2 seconds before time, right?
Ma'am,
So
thank you.
next time, I'm sure you will take it.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Shagun,
Yes, ma'am.
Shagun, you also had good content. You have a fair command over language. But I think at some points you might focus on saying few words, how to pronounce few words. That will help you more. You were making eye contact, and you finished in time. You maybe just in time. So you can also take care of that in future.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
So I also endorse the comments of Dr. Zareen regarding both the speakers. I think Shafi, I was very impressed by his performance, especially because he spoke with understanding, as very rightly pointed out by Dr. Zareen. Except for that part that perhaps he extended the idea a bit too much. And especially, a good speaker is one who ends on a powerful note. He begins with a powerful note and ends also on a powerful note. So what happened in case of Shafi, that perhaps when he wanted to conclude, there I think some problem occurred. And he was not able to conclude effectively. Now this is something which you can take care of later.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
If you're not clear about the point, no issues. You can either skip it or first clarify it to yourself, then only venture out. I will explain what was the idea if it is still not clear to you.
Yes, sir.
You did a reasonably good job.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Shagun, you also, as Zareen ma'am pointed out, you have good content, but I think you need to focus a bit more on language quality.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
See, the language, the way it is written, it is not spoken in the same manner. For example, if I speak like this, following are the advantages of this matrix structure. Now, this may sound good in a written format, but
Okay,
in
sir.
an oral format, this sounds a bit too contrived.
Okay, sir. Yes.
Please avoid.
Yeah.
You can
Yes,
be
sir.
very straight. It has its advantages,
Okay, sir.
like that.
Thank you,
So,
sir.
work on the quality of the language, that will help you further.
Yes, sir.
The idea which I was discussing, Shafi, regarding the IIM Ahmedabad experience was that they have products. Now products are, जैसे for example अलीगढ़ में हम लोग 4 products offer करते हैं, MBA General, MBA HA, MBA Islamic Banking, MBA International Business. So likewise they also have products. They call them PGP, Postgraduate Program, Fellow Program in Management. They also have an FDP. So that is one level, and each program has a chairperson. But at the same time, they have permanent areas, and they are headed by chairperson. Isn't it? So one structure gets superimposed over the other structure. That was the idea which I was sharing.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So, Zareen ma'am, I think you can begin with the content, and in the later part, maybe I will add a few points.
So I can share the 5 sources of power.
Yes, please.
Okay, sir. So like yesterday we started talking about we discussed the difference between power and authority, and like your friends Shafi and Shagun pointed out how the power differs from authority. Power is the ability to exert influence on other people. Okay, and we may see later at a later stage that the people who exert power on other people, they may have authority or they may not have authority. And on the other hand, authority, like power, it also refers to other person's potential for influencing others, but in a legitimate manner, in a manner of ethical sanctification. They should be ethical about it, and they should be legal and legitimate about it. So that is how we can differentiate between authority and power. Power in organizational behavior, like I mentioned, does not have to be legitimate. Some people who don't have authority, even they exercise power. So we can see that how do they do that? What could be the 5 bases of power or 5 sources of power? But before I start want to check with the people who will present recap tomorrow. Is Osama Akhtar, are you there? Osama Akhtar. You are not there. So Mohammad Zia and Ashish Kumar Singh. Ashish?
Yes, ma'am.
Ashish, can you present the recap in the next class with Mohammad Zia Hassan?
Sure, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so the 5 sources of power which we can discuss about is first is I'm typing the chat box, the reward. The reward power. This is one of the sources of power. For example, see if there are 2 employees, employee A and employee B, then how could employee A have a reward power over the employee B? It could happen when the employee A has the influence on employee B to influence his reward. It could be his monetary reward. So he may increase his monetary reward, he may influence that part, or he may even think about it, how much reward is to be given to that employee. Also, he may give reward to a person in case if somebody is working in poor working conditions, then how can he improve those working conditions? In that way also he could give reward. So when people have the power to influence others reward part, it could be monetary or it could be the physical atmosphere in which they are working, we say that that person is exercising reward power. Okay, the second source of power could be coercive. I just typed in the chat box. Now, as the name suggests, coercive is when, for example, there are employees and for example, employee A and employee B are there. So employee A is exercising a kind of influence on other employees in a forceful manner. Coercive could be referred to as a forceful manner. For example, and it could be practiced, for example, if there is a team of 5 members, suppose, and employee A is working very good, is able to meet the task, is able to meet the task for the day, but other employees are forced to work according to his capability or his ability, how much he is able to finish in one day. So in that sense, they are forced to work according to his standards or to conform to his standards. This happens in many cases. We can call it as rate busters, because rate busters are those people who perform their task more than what has been allotted to them for the day or for the week or for the allotted time. So those people can be called as rate busters, and those people lay influence or put influence on other members of the team. And one of the consequence of this is that people who are not able to work according to rate busters standards, they sometimes have to face rejection from the group. They are not well accepted in the group. Okay, so this is one example of the coercive power. All right. The next power is the legitimate power. I'll just type in the box. Legitimate or possessional. As the name suggests, we can attach to it the legitimacy and the position to which a person is placed at. For example, we have the vice chancellor of the university. So of course he has the legitimate power, the positional power to punish anybody according if he doesn't meet, if he has performed not according to the rules or the guidelines. For example, in the department also, the chairperson of the department has the position, has the legitimate power to somehow punish students, staff in case they do not meet the guidelines, or if they are not working according to the atmosphere which is required, if they're not able to maintain the good atmosphere. So in that way we can say that the legitimate or positional power is practiced. The fourth power is the expert power. Expertise is a source through which a person gains power over others. How does that happen? For example, in companies, we see there are financial advisors. They're experts. They provide financial advices to the company, and companies depends upon them. They function according to them. They take major and big decisions according to the advice of the financial advisors. So they have an expertise, and that is a power which they're exercising, they're enjoying. We can also talk about lawyers. For example, sir always mentioned in the class that if the university faces any legal issues, if any such legal issues are faced in, for example, in our university or in any academic institution, then they take the advice of their lawyer, the legal advisor, that how to proceed, how to go about it. And they provide their services, they provide advices, and accordingly the university proceeds. It is in all kinds of organizations this happens. So this is how people exercise expert power. The fifth source of power is the referent power. Now, for example, you can understand this in the sense that when people understand that maybe they are attached to someone important, and they have his or her reference to use, then they consider themselves powerful. For example, if we visit a doctor, if we see a doctor and he has his secretary, so he considers himself powerful because we are taking appointment from him, we are depending upon him to let us see the doctor. He will be giving us the appointment. And in the same way, for example, we need to meet any important authority or any important person, so we would be relying to people who are close to that person. Maybe could be his office staff, could be his maybe close relatives could also be there. So this is how people exercise different power when they use the other person's references, and they can show that we are close to that person and we know him. So that is how this different power is used. So would you like to add something to it?
Yes, I think whatever the power bases Dr. Zareen has described, whether it is reward power or coercive power, power to punish, or she talked about the positional power, then she talked about expert power and referent power. So if we were to collapse it into two broad categories, they can just be, two broad categories of power base. One is the personal power base, and the second is the positional power base. Because many times the power to reward or power to punish also comes with the position. Isn't it? So for example, if I'm holding a position in the department, I'm sorry. So I was talking about the personal and positional power. Now, I give you an example. Position-wise, all teachers in the department, they are placed at the same level as far as the position power is concerned, because they all draw their power from the Act, AMU Act, which gives them power as a faculty member. But do you think everyone enjoys the same personal power? The positional power may be the same. How come it is so that teachers, although position-wise placed at the same level, they exercise different personal power bases? Now this could be, what could be the reasons for this? Why some teachers may sound having more power over students than all of you have studied in various educational institutions. Why do you remember some teachers more than the others? If you reflect on this question, you will get an answer to these two power bases I talked about. Can I have some reflections from the class? The teachers who have impressed you, what could be the reason?
So maybe more experience.
Yes, this could be because of their experience. So maybe because of their experience, you may trust their judgment better.
So personal influence by expertise.
Yes. So expertise also grows with experience, isn't it? Generally, although somebody could have an expertise. For example, some of our young colleagues have a lot of expertise as far as IT tools are concerned, for example, isn't it? So I may value their judgment on that account. But generally, with experience grows expertise. And because of that, the teacher becomes more valuable or may have more personal power than the positional power that confers to his position. Any other reason why some teachers may enjoy more power than the others? Seniority, yes. Kamran, we have already talked about experience. Zainab, would you like to comment on this aspect?
So this is what I think, because they're more experienced, so people give them more preference in the institutions, and this is the reason they have the they have more power to exert on others. They have been given that right, maybe.
So many a times, personal power emerges out of either this expertise. So for example, if we have fallen sick, we go to a doctor and we trust his judgment. We trust his judgment because of his expertise. So position wise, the person may not have any hierarchy or may not be placed in a direct hierarchy, but we tend to trust because we trust the expertise of the person. Then there is another thing which we call, maybe we would put it in the category of referent power only. Some people have a lot of charisma. Now what is charisma? Charisma is a very broad term. It could be because of, like for example, some of the charismatic personalities which, let us say, we have had in the field of cricket, for example. Do you remember some cricketers who were sort of treated as role models by many?
Sir, Adam Gilchrist.
Yes, I was thinking of some more Indian examples.
Sachin Tendulkar.
Naturally, the first name that comes to your mind is the little master blaster, the Sachin Tendulkar, the only one. And how that person acquires that charisma? Again, the charisma comes because of the achievements. When you have genuine, hardcore achievements to back your personality, you acquire that charisma over the years. It is acquired because of sustained effort. And such charisma is long lasting. Again, this grows out of the expertise of the person. So this too would be in the category of personal power. Now, Zareen ma'am talked about a source of power which she called referent power. Can some of you explain this idea again? What is a referent power? Could you understand this idea of referent power?
No, sir.
So
Like-
maybe because
Yes,
someone
Zareen.
in the organization knows someone from before or out of the workspace, so they think that they have a right, or maybe they think that they have the power to influence them, and they have an interpersonal relationship. So that is what they show in the organization to act. Maybe, for example, a superior knows an employee, so he acts like he knows him from before, so he has that power to make his decisions, and just to act like I'm more powerful than the other person because I know him from out of the workspace. Maybe that.
Zainab, yes, you are hinting at just one aspect of referent power. Actually, I've come across two interpretations of referent power. One is when people wish to refer to you. For example, I just now shared with you the example of Sachin Tendulkar. Now, many people may follow his hairstyle, for example, because over the years he has acquired that charisma. Isn't it? So, that is one interpretation of referent power I have come across. People wish to refer to you as a role model, and that gives you power. Isn't it? And naturally, it is because of your genuine achievements in the past. Then there is another interpretation which I have come across, which Zainab was hinting at. In organizations, there are some important power centers. For example, if you take the case of Aligarh Muslim University, AMU, we have the Vice Chancellor's office as one of the power centers. Isn't it? Naturally, Vice Chancellor's office, although hierarchy Vice Chancellor may be higher in the hierarchy, but the Vice Chancellor's position is seen as more powerful in the university context. Isn't it? So naturally, all those who are associated with the Vice Chancellor's office in one capacity or the other, they somehow get more power than the rest. For example, there may be a personal secretary of the Vice Chancellor who is at the same level as other assistant registrars in the university. So he may be also holding the designation of assistant registrar, but he is seen as having more power because of his association with the Vice Chancellor's office. So that is the second interpretation which I have come across of referent power. Because you can refer to somebody, and in this case the Vice Chancellor. You become, let us say, the gatekeeper of the Vice Chancellor's office. If you have to approach the Vice Chancellor, the first assistant registrar, the personal secretary, has to be approached for appointment. So he may, because of that position, enjoy far more power than the other assistant registrars in the same site. Okay. So the point, I think the concluding comment that I wish to make is, now which source of power is better, the personal or the positional? We have seen managers, we have seen our teachers also. They will never, there are some teachers who would threaten students, fail kar dunga, main tumhe attendance kaat lunga, isn't it? So that's one category of people who exercise power in a such brazen way. And but I have also had teachers who in a very subtle way influenced our thought process. Today only one of my teachers passed away, Dr. A.V. Jaffrey. He taught me physics when I was in class 12. And trust me, when he would enter the class, you can measure the time clock with his movements. Dot 8, he would enter into the class. And then the class would be bolted from inside. He never emphasized the importance of time management. But he was a living embodiment of that idea. So the point is that a person may have all the positions and the power that comes with that position. But a mature person is one who is able to get things done with the use of his own personal force, personality, and doesn't rely too heavily on the position that he is occupying. Because positions change. But you know how, for example, APJ Abdul Kalam, even after when he was not the president of the country, he continued to inspire generation till the last day of his life. So it is always better to acquire such personal power base that you don't need actually positional power base. Thank you. This is what I wanted to contribute.
Thank you, sir.
So we call it a day, or okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.